The evening had begun like many others in Tel Aviv, warm air drifting in from the Mediterranean, restaurants buzzing with late-night conversations, and families finishing their day. For most residents, the tension that had filled the region for weeks had become part of the background of daily life. News broadcasts talked about military threats and rising hostilities, but on the streets people still tried to live normally. Shortly after midnight, that fragile sense of normalcy shattered. Air raid sirens suddenly pierced the quiet city. Their sharp, rising wail echoed through apartment blocks and narrow streets, instantly sending people into motion. Parents grabbed their children, couples rushed down stairwells, and neighbors knocked on each other's doors as everyone hurried toward underground shelters and reinforced safe rooms. In Israel, these moments are rehearsed through years of drills, but every alarm still brings a surge of fear. At the same moment, hundreds of miles away in military command centers, radar operators stared at glowing screens filled with fast-moving signals. Israel's early warning systems had detected multiple launches originating from Iran. Within seconds, alarms spread across the country's defense network. Officers realized this was not a small rocket barrage or a single missile strike. The radar signatures suggested something larger and far faster was already racing across the sky. Israel's air defense system sprang into action. The most well-known part of that system, Iron Dome, was designed to intercept incoming rockets and short-range missiles before they could strike cities. Launch batteries across the country automatically calculated interception paths. Moments later, interceptor missiles blasted into the air, leaving bright streaks of flame as they climbed toward the incoming threats. For years, Iron Dome had built a reputation as one of the most effective missile defense systems in the world. It had intercepted thousands of rockets fired from nearby conflict zones, often with remarkable precision. Many Israelis trusted the system as a protective shield above their homes. But tonight, the radar operators noticed something unusual. The incoming objects were moving far faster than typical ballistic missiles. Even more concerning, their trajectories were shifting mid-flight. Instead of following predictable arcs, they appeared to glide and maneuver, changing direction as they descended toward their targets. That kind of behavior suggested a new generation of weapon hypersonic missiles. These weapons travel at extraordinary speeds, often above Mach 5, meaning more than 5 times the speed of sound. At such velocities, the time between detection and impact becomes dangerously short. Even advanced defense systems struggle to react quickly enough. And unlike traditional missiles, hypersonic weapons can maneuver in the atmosphere, making them much harder to track and intercept. As interceptor missiles streaked upward from Israeli launch sites, flashes of light appeared high above the country, mid-air explosions marking successful interceptions. Yet the battle in the sky was far from over. Some incoming objects were still racing forward, slipping past defensive layers. In Jerusalem and other major cities, people waiting inside shelters felt the distant rumble of explosions overhead. Each blast could mean an interception or a missile reaching its target. Outside, the night sky glowed with orange flashes and drifting smoke trails. Emergency responders prepared for the worst. Ambulances stood ready, hospitals activated emergency protocols, and firefighters positioned themselves for potential strikes. Military commanders monitored the unfolding situation with growing concern. Within minutes, it became clear that this attack was unlike previous ones. The sheer speed, the maneuvering flight paths, and the intensity of the barrage suggested a new level of missile technology. Analysts quickly began suspecting the use of advanced Iranian hypersonic weapons, possibly from the Fattah hypersonic missile program. For the people sheltering below ground, however, the technical details did not matter. What they knew was simple: the sky above their country had become a battlefield. And for the first time in years, many wondered whether the shield they trusted most could truly stop everything falling from above. As the shock of the night's attack spread through newsrooms and military headquarters, analysts across the world began asking the same urgent question: how had these missiles moved so quickly and unpredictably? The answer pointed to a rapidly intensifying technological competition between regional powers, one centered on a new class of weapons known as hypersonic missiles. For years, Iran had invested heavily in developing advanced missile systems. International sanctions and military isolation pushed the country to focus on domestic research, especially within the aerospace division of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This branch became the driving force behind Iran's missile and drone programs, working to create weapons that could deter stronger military powers. Iranian military leaders believed that missile technology could serve as a strategic equalizer. While other nations might possess more advanced air forces or larger armies, missiles offered Iran the ability to strike distant targets quickly and with significant force. Over the years, the country steadily expanded its arsenal, producing a wide range of ballistic missiles capable of reaching targets across the Middle East. But the global arms race was evolving. Nations such as the United States, China, and Russia had begun developing hypersonic weapons, which travel at extreme speeds more than 5 times the speed of sound and can maneuver while flying through the atmosphere. These characteristics make them far more difficult to intercept than traditional ballistic missiles. In 2023, Iran announced that it had successfully developed its own hypersonic missile, known as the Fattah hypersonic missile. Iranian officials claimed the weapon could reach speeds up to Mach 15 and had the ability to change direction mid-flight, making it capable of bypassing advanced missile defense systems. State media described it as a technological breakthrough that would strengthen Iran's deterrence against its rivals. Military experts around the world reacted with caution. While some analysts questioned the exact capabilities being claimed, many agreed that Iran's missile technology had advanced significantly. Even if the missile was not as powerful as advertised, the combination of speed and maneuverability could still present serious challenges for defensive systems. For Israel, the implications were particularly serious. The country relies on a sophisticated, layered air defense network designed to protect its cities from rockets and missiles. The most famous component of that network is Iron Dome, which intercepts short-range rockets. For longer-range threats, Israel uses systems such as David's Sling and the Arrow missile defense system, which are designed to intercept ballistic missiles in the upper atmosphere. These systems had proven highly effective in past conflicts. However, they were originally designed to deal with weapons that follow relatively predictable paths through the sky. Hypersonic missiles, by contrast, can glide through the atmosphere at extremely high speeds while shifting direction, making them far more difficult to track and intercept. Defense planners began to worry that the nature of aerial warfare was changing. Even the most advanced missile shield could be challenged if faced with a combination of high-speed weapons, maneuverable flight paths, and large coordinated attacks. In such situations, defense systems might successfully intercept many incoming missiles, but even a small number breaking through could still cause major damage. The possibility of hypersonic weapons entering the Middle Eastern battlefield sparked concern far beyond the region. Military strategists in Europe, Asia, and North America closely studied the developments, recognizing that similar challenges could soon affect their own defense systems. For Israel, the race was no longer only about intercepting rockets or ballistic missiles. The emergence of hypersonic technology meant the country would need to adapt quickly, investing in new sensors, faster interceptors, and experimental defense systems such as high-energy lasers. The technological contest between offense and defense had entered a new phase. Each new weapon pushed engineers to design better protection, while each new defense inspired the creation of more advanced missiles. And in this relentless race between shield and sword, the balance of power could shift faster than anyone expected. As tensions between Iran and Israel continued to rise, the world watched closely, fearing that the long-standing shadow conflict between the two nations might erupt into a more direct confrontation. For years, both countries had engaged in indirect warfare through cyberattacks, covert operations, and regional proxy groups, but the possibility of large-scale missile exchanges had always remained a dangerous line that neither side openly crossed. That changed during one dramatic escalation. Following a series of military clashes in the region, Iran launched a massive coordinated strike aimed at Israeli territory. The attack was not limited to a single type of weapon. Instead, it involved a complex combination of drones, ballistic missiles, and high-speed projectiles, all launched in waves designed to overwhelm Israel's defenses. As the first launches were detected, Israel immediately activated its layered air defense network. Radar systems began tracking dozens of objects moving toward Israeli airspace. Interceptors were launched from multiple batteries across the country as defense systems worked together to identify which threats needed to be neutralized. The most recognizable shield protecting Israeli cities, Iron Dome, quickly engaged rockets and short-range threats. At the same time, more advanced systems like David's Sling and the Arrow missile defense system targeted missiles traveling at higher altitudes and longer ranges. For several minutes, the skies above Israel turned into a battlefield of light and fire. Interceptor missiles streaked upward, colliding with incoming projectiles in bright flashes high above the ground. Many of the attacking weapons were successfully destroyed before reaching their targets, demonstrating the remarkable capability of Israel's defensive network. However, the attack had been carefully designed. By launching a large number of drones and missiles at once, the attackers created a saturation effect. Some incoming weapons forced the defense systems to engage multiple targets simultaneously. stretching radar tracking and interceptor supply to their limits. At the same time, several high-speed projectiles appeared to move differently than standard ballistic missiles. These missiles were believed to be advanced systems capable of traveling at hypersonic speeds. Their unusual flight paths made interception more difficult, as they could shift direction during the final stages of their descent. Despite the impressive success rate of Israel's defenses, not every projectile was stopped. Several missiles managed to slip through the defensive layers and strike areas inside the country. Explosions shook parts of cities and towns, leaving behind damaged buildings, shattered windows, and burning debris. Emergency services rushed to the scenes while rescue teams searched for injured civilians trapped in damaged structures. In some neighborhoods, the ground bore massive craters from missile impacts, showing the destructive power of the weapons that had managed to penetrate the defensive shield. While the number of successful strikes was small compared to the total number of incoming threats, the psychological impact was enormous. For years, many people had believed that Israel's advanced air defense systems made the country nearly immune to large-scale missile attacks. The events of that night challenged that belief. Military analysts quickly began examining how the breakthrough had occurred. Some pointed to the sheer volume of incoming weapons, noting that even the best defense systems can struggle when forced to engage many targets at once. Others focused on the possible use of maneuverable hypersonic missiles, which represent a new challenge for interception technologies. Across the world, defense experts debated the significance of the event. Some argued that the attack showed the growing effectiveness of offensive missile technology. Others emphasized that the majority of threats had still been intercepted, proving that defensive systems remained highly effective. But one conclusion was difficult to ignore. Even the most advanced missile shield in the world could not guarantee complete protection. And in modern warfare, sometimes just a few missiles getting through can change everything. In the days following the missile strikes, the immediate explosions and sirens faded, but the deeper impact of the event continued to spread across the global defense community. Military analysts, governments, and technology experts began studying what had happened in the skies above Israel. The attack had shown that even advanced defensive systems could be challenged by new generations of weapons. For years, Israel had relied on one of the most sophisticated air defense networks ever built. Systems like Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow missile defense system were designed to work together in layers, intercepting threats at different ranges and altitudes. This network had successfully protected the country from thousands of rockets and missiles over the years. But the recent attack revealed something important: defense technology must constantly evolve. The emergence of hypersonic weapons capable of traveling at extraordinary speeds while maneuvering unpredictably posed a challenge unlike anything many missile defense systems had faced before. Military planners in Israel quickly began discussing how to strengthen their defenses. One approach involved developing faster interceptors capable of reaching hypersonic speeds themselves. If a defensive missile could match or exceed the speed of the incoming threat, it would increase the chances of a successful interception. Another area of research focused on advanced radar and tracking systems. Hypersonic weapons move so quickly that traditional detection methods may not provide enough warning time. New sensors, including space-based monitoring systems, could allow earlier detection and better tracking of high-speed threats. Perhaps the most ambitious project under development was a laser-based defense system known as Iron Beam. Unlike traditional interceptor missiles, which must physically collide with incoming threats, laser systems fire concentrated beams of energy that can destroy drones, rockets, or missiles almost instantly. Because laser weapons rely on electricity rather than expensive interceptor missiles, they could potentially provide a faster and more cost-effective layer of defense. While Israel accelerated its technological efforts, Iran presented the events as proof of its growing military capabilities. Iranian officials argued that their missile program had reached a new level of sophistication, capable of challenging even the most advanced defense systems in the region. The development of missiles, such as the Fattah hypersonic missile, was portrayed as a strategic deterrent and ability to respond if conflict escalated. Beyond the Middle East, the incident sparked concern among military strategists worldwide. Hypersonic weapons were no longer theoretical concepts being tested in laboratories. They were becoming real tools of modern warfare. Countries including the United States, China, and Russia had already been investing heavily in hypersonic research, and the events in the region reinforced the urgency of that race. Defense experts described the situation as a new phase in the long competition between offensive and defensive technology. Throughout history, every new weapon has forced the development of new forms of protection. Cannons led to thicker castle walls. Airplanes led to anti-aircraft guns and radar systems. Ballistic missiles led to missile defense shields. Now, hypersonic Weapons were pushing that cycle forward again. For civilians who had spent terrifying hours inside shelters during the attack, these technological debates felt distant. What mattered to them was the realization that the world's most advanced defenses were not perfect. The skies had eventually fallen silent again, and daily life slowly resumed. But the memory of that night remained vivid, sirens echoing through the streets, flashes of explosions overhead, and the uncertain wait inside underground shelters. For military planners and world leaders alike, the lesson was clear. The future of warfare was changing rapidly, and the race to control the skies had entered a completely new era.